Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing.
Unsupported resolution.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Do you change that on your other thing?
Probably.
Oh wait, no. This is registered as being live now.
Okay. Can you hear anything? Oh.
Okay. All right.
Alrighty. Sorry for that at the beginning here, folks, but this is our final edition of Radio Kart for the 2018 season. I'm Joseph Rapp.
And I'm Nelson Ulinski, and we have got a nice review and looking ahead show. We will be looking at championships from the 206 Cup. Oh, excuse me, Cup Karts North America, or whatever we're calling it now.
Yeah.
I believe they've even changed the name for next year too. Or something.
So there's going to be Cup Karts North America is the whole thing, but the Champions Cup is the regional points.
They've more or less changed it yet again, people. But yeah, club championships for 61 Kartway, Davenport Kartway as well. We'll even be talking about looking back on the Triple Crown Street Racing and looking ahead on the similar topics as well as kind of our own plans for next year.
Should be a jam-packed episode.
Yeah, a lot of other kind of little stuff sprinkled in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you want to start with, Joseph?
Let's start with the championships at 61 Kartway, because gosh, it's been 2 months since we talked about anything championship related. Actually, the last time we did a show was back in August.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot has changed since then.
Yeah, the Junior 1 206 championship is what we're going to talk about now, and I'll see if I can bring this up for everybody to look at here real quick.
Oh, that's trippy. Okay. Yeah. So starting with Junior 1 here, we have Carter Nelson piloting the 22N. Capturing 6 victories en route to his championship. Miles Doherty in a somewhat wide margin of 330 points in second. He missed 2 races, but judging by his results, if he was there, he probably would have been nipping right at Carter Nelson's heels for that championship fight. Remington Dierks missing another handful of races, but a handful of podiums helped him secure third position overall. Reichen Lopez, apologies if I am mispronouncing that name, captured 4th. How's that gap work? Yeah, only just mere 95 points behind Remington Dierks, which may sound like a lot, but when you consider that a win is 200 points, that's not that much in the grand scheme of things. Ella Sprank got 5th with a 2nd place finish. She missed a good portion of the races, but kind of going down further, we just kind of get into a bunch of part-timers, more or less. Although I will say a shout-out to Nicholas Peppers with a handful of 2nd places and a win. He only showed up 4 times and managed to secure 7th out of 15 entrants overall. And also to Mateo Naranjo with his lone win out of only 2 entries. They may not have been up there in the championship fight, but that is, considering the difficulty of the track, that is still impressive to be able to show up and get impressive results like that.
Yeah, very impressed with, first of all, the size of the Junior 1 206 field this year. It's fun to watch the kids kind of battle it out. But note on Miles Doherty, he'll be going down to Daytona here in end of December, January, and competing with the Margay guys down there. So he'll be fun to watch down there.
Yeah, so a bit of a smaller grid here in Junior 2 206. And the championship fight was not the tightest, really, at least for the for the win.
Yeah.
We had Donovan Ruffner in dominating fashion, at least in the first half of the year, with a total of 7 wins out of 13 races. So he won over half the races, securing a championship by over 400 points over Hannah Nelson. Although she had a pretty decent season, one of the very few drivers to show up to actually all 13 races.
I think a round of applause. 61 gives out that participation award at the end of the year, which, everybody talks about participation awards not meaning a lot, but to show up for every race in a season is really, really impressive in club karting. That's this year 13 times in the year.
Yeah.
And
would have been 15 if it wasn't for 2 rainouts in October.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm very impressive to make all the events and to get that second place finish that she got. And as you can see, improved throughout the year, got more consistent at the end.
Indeed, yeah. So she actually did that without winning a single race.
Mm-hmm.
So props to consistency there. Ashton Wheeler got third with a set of 3 wins over Kayla Carlson in fourth, and that was quite. Or wait, oh no, I'm looking at. I mistook gap for difference. That's a pretty big gap still there between them. Anyways, no, and then Bryce Shaw in fifth. He was another one of those who only showed up a handful of times, but he won 3 of the 5 races he showed up for. So well done to him.
I think should definitely note that Bryce is doing 206, the Champions Cup racing more this year, and then Kayla Carlson with her brother doing Yamaha and doing here in Davenport Kartway. Kind of took away from her, results towards the end of the year to be able to come out to as many races. So
yeah, and then rounding out the rest of these, we had Alexis Sheeper. She mostly raced the last half of the year, and although her results may not have shown it, she did find a lot of speed over the year. So hopefully she finds even more speed next year. Logan Graham was another one who had some pretty strong runs. He may not have won a race, but he did get a second place near the end of the year.
His home track is Dowsman, Sugar River, which also races on Sundays. Yes. So whenever they didn't have a race on Sunday, he came down here. He was actually at Davenport Kartway quite a bit on Saturday. Saturday.
Cool to see him out here anyways. And Maximus Geitzenauer, although he did only show up for 2 races, he transitioned to senior, as we'll see later this year, where he had a pretty strong run, actually. So nice drivers all throughout Junior 2. Well done to all of them.
So moving on here, we'll talk about the kid kart class here at 61. There wasn't a lot of kid karts racing, but they did show up and drive pretty well now.
Yeah. So kid kart points are a little bit different than all the others. You don't really you get points for showing up, more or less. You get 1 point for winning, you get 1 point for second, so on and so on. So,
it's about teaching the kids. It's not about winning a championship.
Exactly, yeah. So it's kind of hollow almost to kind of talk about a championship in this class.
But I think it's definitely...
It's still worth a mention, though.
Yeah.
Still to be talked about. Derry Pavlonis won the championship, and although he mostly would drive by himself, he did go up against Owen Metzger, and in the final race, Tucker Heaslip, Elton Hoff, and Jacob Hoff, I would assume they're brothers, throughout the year, and would continuously show, despite the fact that you only get 1 point per position, that he was amongst the best of them, beating out Owen Metzger in the 3 times they raced together and finishing second when they had a strong grid of 4 karts in the final race of the year.
Yeah, I always love watching the kid karts, Nelson, because they're just so unpredictable and always on the move and learning. So there you'll see that there are 2 other championships here, Junior Super Can and Senior Super Can, in which no drivers really competed in a lot this year. I don't think there was an award given out in the banquet.
There really wasn't.
Class. Yeah. So we're not gonna talk about those. Not that we don't care about them, but really the Yamaha class was not real prevalent this year at the track. But this was kind of the biggest class of the year, and we got a lot to talk about in this class.
Yeah, a lot to talk about. My gosh. So this kind of going to scroll all the way down here. So just for, I guess, kind of looking at everything here, we had a total of 26 entrants here all throughout the year, which that's pretty strong.
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
So while not everyone showed up for every race, quite a few of these guys actually only showed up for 1 race, we did have a lot of close racing up near the top.
Yeah, and I would say every weekend we had anywhere from 8 to 10 karts pretty much every weekend racing consistently with us.
Yeah.
And you'd have some of those random guys show up and fill in for some of the other random guys that didn't show up. So there's always between 8 and 10 karts at the track.
Yeah. So despite that closeness, though, of competition, Gage Kemp kind of walked away from everyone for the most part. He won by an over 600-point margin to you.
Yeah.
With over 2,000 points, which is quite an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
So getting all those points there, he did that with that's 6 wins, I believe. Yeah, 6 wins there.
And that goes with consistency, Nelson. It's one thing to be consistent and run third or fourth, but Gage this year consistently ran first, second, week in and week out. And when it came down to things, the rest of us were kind of battling for second majority of the year.
And then to add on to that, he keep in mind he only did race in junior 1 year before this.
Yeah.
So this is his first year in senior. So kind of really learning on the fly almost here. Yeah. So massive props to him.
Yeah, definitely.
Then, of course, Radio Kart's very own Joseph Rapp in second position.
If you can't see me, I'm bowing right now.
he missed 4 of the 13 races, but he got a pair of wins and was consistently in the scrap for top finishing positions throughout the year.
And let me tell you, Nelson, I lucked out on getting second this year because 2 rainouts helped preserve my points lead at the end of the year. Otherwise, you and Max would have definitely passed me.
Yeah.
But wanted to highlight my favorite win there. The first one I got with the last lap pass on Morgan Schuler. That was pretty exciting. But, definitely lucky to get second. And I definitely foresee next year there being a lot more competition at the front. So.
Yeah. And we, you're talking about the rainout of the last 2 races. That really kind of threw a wrench into a lot of the championship fights.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically the top 4. That would have looked very different if those races were allowed to play out.
Oh, yeah.
Because you were going to miss those. Gage already had the championship locked up. Max and I were kind of having a battle of our own for third in the championship there. And considering how I was driving against him in those final few races, I very well would have gotten the charge on him and would have secured second if we had those.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate circumstance for you. And I think for everybody, really, because we always want to end the year on kind of a high note of running and racing with each other. And so for essentially the championship race to take place, gosh, was that back in September that took place? Back in September, and when we had planned on going to mid-October. It was a little unfortunate, but at least you did have the 61 challenge to kind of wrap things up at the end of the year. So.
Yeah, so Max Geitzenauer, I think I had mentioned over in Junior 2 how after the first 2 races he moved on up to here.
Yeah.
So considering that, out of what he actually entered in, he only really missed 1 race.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he did get a victory, but that should be noted that was only against Ken Johnston. There were only 2 karts that day.
Yeah.
So, while it was a victory, it was only a 2-kart victory.
Oh, and looking at this, Sir Nelson, had he just decided to run senior right away, he would have been the second-place driver at the end of the season because he would have accumulated more points, right? But unfortunately, made that decision a little later. But those are things, in the middle of the season you don't really think about, and then you get to the end of the season, and all of a sudden they pop up, and you're like, oh, man, dang, if I would have, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah. So then kind of Radio Kart's own Nelson Ulinski in 4th place as well. Yeah. So as I was saying, I very well could have gotten second if we had those 2 remaining races. But kind of had an interesting year here. If you see, I missed the mid-2 races. Kind of had a bit going on in the summer there that prevented me from racing that. And then that last race there in September, I was actually sick then. So I would have raced that, but I was actually puking. I had a fever. A very unpleasant time. Yeah. Would not want to have raced like that.
And again, looking back on this championship and the way things played out, once again, the rainouts, like you said, obviously hurt you, but then missing that double points event really ended up hurting you as well, which at the time, everybody thinks, no big deal, and then you get to the end of the year, and it ends up being a big deal. So,
which I honestly forget what I had going on. I do know that my summer was busy though.
I do know you came to the track. I think your vehicle was in disrepair at the time.
That probably would have been a big something like that. But point is, I was actually pretty torn up about missing that double points race.
Yeah.
Because looking at that, even looking at you, you got what would that be? 4th place?
Yeah, 4th place. I still got over 200 points.
280 points.
Get for a win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even showing up, like, and even if I finished last, I still would have gotten like last place there. Erin Dunn, I think she got 240, so I could have gotten 220 easily by just showing up.
And that would have been 60 points you needed, to get up there to.
That would have actually. I'm pretty sure that would have put me in 2nd place.
Yep.
Actually, yeah. Yep. So.
Unfortunate, but sometimes.
Yeah, stuff happens. But Ken Johnston, a very strong year from our defending champion.
Yeah.
So while he did not win a race, he was quite consistent. He was amongst the core set of drivers that would show up for the majority of the races. Mm-hmm. He missed a few at the start of the year, but I should give him a free pass on that, considering he was recovering from his injury from the previous season.
And another note on Ken. Nick was the champion last year, but Ken was the champion in 2016.
Oh, I misspoke on that. Defending champion from 16, yes. Yeah. I knew. Yeah, that actually sounded wrong as I said it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he still got 2nd and a 3rd place, so good job on him. Erin Dunn, kind of a little surprised to see her there.
I was glad to see her.
I am too, yeah. So typically Erin Dunn is a 2-cycle racer. Mm-hmm. So she kind of picked this up in the middle of the year. And, of course, 2-cycle racing is very different from 4-cycle racing, as a lot of our listeners are familiar with.
Yeah.
But typically, for those that aren't, 4-cycle racing is a lot more momentum-driven.
Yeah.
Whereas with the 2-cycle racing, while momentum is important, a lot of that is kind of more down to driving aggressively, and you can be more willing to sacrifice momentum. So totally different driving styles. So she actually picked up a 2nd place en route to securing 6th.
Well, she almost got a win. Remember, Nelson? Her and Morgan were decking it out, and my 2nd win of the season came out of pure luck between the two of them crashing each other, because I was like a half a straightaway, almost a full straightaway, I think, behind them.
But that was a stacked field that day, so even still holding out for a 2nd place was impressive on her part.
Yeah.
So we had Morgan Schuler in 7th. Now, he only showed up for 5 races here, but he got a pair of 2nd place finishes, which probably should have been wins.
Yeah.
So he kind of got robbed of that, but still a very strong season in his other finishes. He finished in the podium in all 5 races. So if you take that and if you look at that as far as like a championship fight goes, he probably would have been up there with Gage. Very easily.
He definitely would have been, if he would have competed the whole season. It would have been a battle between him and Gage. And then, whenever you start adding more people into that championship mix, you potentially add people like me and you and Max into it, because they're taking points away from each other, right? Yeah. So that brings them closer back to us.
Yep.
So definitely could have been in the championship hunt.
Yeah, and then Chad Peppers, another driver that actually probably could have stomped Gage even.
Yeah.
He showed up for 4 races and won 3 of those. I actually forget what happened in the first one. Did he throw a chain?
Yeah, he was leading, dominating, actually, and threw a chain. So, could have had 4 wins there.
Yeah, so may have been 8th place, but, you can't still deny the fact that he had to actually be the most dominant driver, despite only showing up for a handful of races.
Yeah.
So, kind of, I guess, I'm not going to go down the order of all 26 drivers.
No.
But I will give a shout-out to Brett Dierks and Dale Sprank for getting 9th and 10th out of these 26 drivers.
Yeah, and really, once you get to those two, that's kind of where it tapers off, and, you guys only show up to 3 or 4. Both those guys showed up, I think it looks like 6 or 7 races. So, like I said, we had between 8 and 10 karts on a weekly basis, which was fun, first of all, and definitely provided some great competition. However, if we compare this year to last year, Nelson, with the competition, we had, I think we had like 8 or 9 different winners last year.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the guys who didn't show up for a race this year, I think Matt Payway is one that clicks into mind. The one race he showed up to last year, he won. Michael Dittmer ended up not racing at all this year. Michael Welsh, I don't think, did a club race at all this year. Those are 3 guys that could have taken 3 wins away from Gage, in my opinion. Didn't show up this year. Not to take anything away from Gage. He did a great job. I think, beating Morgan those couple times, and between beating myself and you, he proved that, he definitely belongs at a high level in this senior class. But definitely on the club level, I'd like to see some of those guys come and race more and challenge those of us who don't get to race against them all the time.
Yeah, so we should probably move on from this, but before we do that, I just want to kind of point out here, too, that our actual defending champion from last year, Nick Ockenfels, got 12th. However, he only showed up for 2 races. Kind of finished down the order in his second race and got second in the first race he showed up for.
Yeah.
He probably would have done a few more races, but he had some other commitments, mainly being Cup Karts North America. Yeah. And then later in the year, he had quite an unfortunate incident, which prevented him actually from even working. So congratulations on his recovery. I hear he went back to work a week ago.
Yeah.
And this was at Dousman, was it?
Yeah, and to clarify, the reason he went back to work a week ago is not because of the crash. The crash recovery, I think he was recovered towards the end of October.
Okay, but still, that occurred in August.
Yeah, that occurred in August, which, good job to recover, but then he had another health issue that popped up, and so that took him out of work for another month and a half.
Yeah.
So, wishing him the best. We're hoping to see him back out on track in 2019, and definitely looking forward to racing against him again. I know we raced against him a couple times in the street races, so always fun to race with Nick.
Yes, and I also just wanted to say, point out Carter Pease, too, who got 4th place in a stacked field. I think that's the 4th race of the year?
Yeah, it would have been...
no, that's the 5th race. Yeah, 5th race here. Stacked field, got 4th. Only race he competed in. So hopefully we'll see more of him next year.
Yeah, definitely need to get Carter behind the wheel of the 4-stroke kart more often. Get off that 2-cycle.
Yeah.
Carter. Moving on to another championship that took place at Davenport Kartway, the track closer to where we normally do our show, and we did our live broadcast earlier in the year, which was fun to do.
Yeah, we did have some technical difficulties with that though. Once we got that ironed out, that was quite a fun experience, and hopefully we can provide you with some more experiences similar to that next year.
Yeah, let us know what you thought of that broadcast if you want, but hopefully we can improve it for next year and bring it to you on the road course instead of the oval. Because the oval was kind of hectic to announce, Nelson.
It was, but I actually think that was part of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. It was just fun trying to keep track of everything, and it was so close to it, I was literally shouting.
Yeah,
it was just such a rush. It was I was almost as intense as actually racing in it.
Yeah,
I gotta say.
Yeah,
so, it was fun.
All right, so here are the 2018 points for Davenport Kartway, Nelson.
Yeah. So Kid Kart. So we don't really have points here for Kid Kart. It's kind of laid out in a different manner than Sectional Kartway. Mm-hmm. But through this, it's indicated that Theory Pavlonis won over Seeley Adams. And judging by the fact that they don't have points awarded, I would assume this was a similar thing.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't like an actual championship.
Yeah, like we said, it's all about teaching the kids.
Exactly. Yeah. So Yamaha Senior, which that was practically dead at 61. But, wow. They
very
had
alive and
quite a field here at Davenport Kartway.
Yeah.
And a lot of big names here, too. In fact, Chad Peppers, I wonder what he was doing when he wasn't kicking everyone's butt at 61. More or less doing the same thing here at Davenport over quite a large margin of Kevin Sheehan. Apologies if I'm not pronouncing that properly. Dustin Blom, which equally large margin back to him in third. Kind of tightens up down in fourth with Michael Dittmer, who I don't actually know if he was there for every race because I know he was very committed to the Triple Crown. So he perhaps could have been there for up there farther in the points if that was not his focus.
Yeah. I definitely know that Dittmer was focusing more on the Yamaha side of everything anyway because of the Triple Crown, which is why you don't see him in as many 206 races throughout the year.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So then kind of rounding that out, we had Mason Aschenbach and Chris Porter tied for 5th. So that must have been an interesting fight with them.
Yeah.
Briggs Cadet. So this would be Junior 1, more or less, just with a different name. Nicholas Peppers, and if that name does sound familiar, that is because that is Chad's son. And let me tell you, judging by those points, he was just as dominant as his father. Christopher James was his other competitor. Although I do seem to recall from watching them at the fall races that we were there for, he did seem to kind of be figuring out how to catch up with Nicholas there. So that should hopefully be an intense fight next year.
Yeah.
Yamaha Junior was another 2-kart battle, but my gosh, was that a tight fight with only 50 points separating Charlie Moore and his victory over Josh Carlson.
I remember watching these two go at it all year long, Nelson, and it was pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. So Briggs Senior, which is kind of interesting, even though we typically think of Briggs being like cheaper and just kind of more
entry level,
and kind of what you would think more people want to do. They had less Briggs than they did Yamaha. If you go back, you'll see they had 8 Yamahas and only 5 Briggs Senior over the course of the year. Chad Peppers won by an astounding margin of almost double second place of Matt Payway's 710 points.
Yeah.
Gage Kemp even managed to show up for a few races, securing 3rd over Brandon Kopecki. And Michael Dittmer, judging by that 175...
It would have been one race.
Exactly, just one race that he would have shown up for. So, yeah, interesting stuff for Briggs.
Yeah.
Yamaha Cadet, that was just Casey Williams. So great track time experience for him. Briggs Jr., that was, and this would be Junior 2, in comparing it to 61. That's a pretty close fight, actually. 125 points separating Logan Graham over Kayla Carlson.
Yeah, and this is where we see the championship that Kayla was fighting for all season long. Obviously,
and Logan Graham, too, because he was only there for a handful of races as well.
So, very hard-fought battle for the two of them.
Yeah. And Yamaha rookie, another close championship battle here. Jack Moore won this. That's Charlie Moore's brother, I believe. So champion brothers, as it were. But he won only 25 points over Easton Smith. Other competitors were Ari Goodwin in 3rd and Caleb Bell in 4th.
Yeah, definitely a great first season, I think, for Davenport Kartway. Getting some drivers out there. We'd love to see that Briggs class grow more, as it is kind of become the foundation of the sport at this point.
Yeah. Now, I will say, too, if you kind of, I'm not exactly sure I want to go into this territory, but if you kind of want to compare these numbers to like 61, you might, if you look at like the number of people competing in these classes, it was pretty much lower than that of 61.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had enough people showing up that allowed for all of these classes to race practically every weekend.
Yeah.
So at 61, I recall times where it would literally just be Junior 1, Junior 2, and Briggs Senior.
Yeah, they always had a Yamaha class at Davenport.
Yeah, so there would be times where we'd only have the 3 classes, and but those would be strong 3 classes. But here at Davenport, their strength wasn't necessarily an individual numbers for each class, but the number of classes that they could actually have that were racing. So well done to them and well done to these drivers.
Yeah, very good job by everybody at Davenport on a successful first season. I heard the awards banquet was quite awesome, so that was pretty fun to watch. But all I'm talking about championships now, right?
Weren't we going to talk about Cup Carts North America? Or do you not really want to?
I don't have it pulled up at the moment.
You don't have it pulled up. Okay.
But I can pull it up if you'd like to talk about it. Those are two different divisions.
Yeah.
If you want to get into that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How about, let's just kind of talk about the champions themselves, I guess.
Okay.
How about that?
I'll try to find that here.
Wait, you don't have this memorized, Joseph?
I don't.
Neither do I. I can't give you that.
Yeah. There it is.
It honestly is not that great when you consider that they have two divisions of what you should have is this one division.
Yeah. Which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show.
Yeah.
So this is going to be Champions Cup Central CKT Senior CIK class. Man, that's a mouthful right
All
there.
of these are going to be a mouthful. Let's just be simple and call it the CIK class.
That's
pretty much class. What it is. So had Stephen Kizdonk.
Kizdonk.
Winning the championship there.
This is for the Central Division.
Central Division, yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Central Division would kind of be like we have North and so this would kind of be like Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and then North would be Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois too, kind of.
Yeah, Illinois is kind of like the bridge between the two.
Yeah. Well, Indiana too, technically, because that's kind of where the championship for both of them was held.
Yeah.
The championship race, the final. Yeah. So,
ready to move on to the next class?
Yeah, I think we're just going to cover like the
champions.
Wow, look at that. So in the sportsman division, Blake Boone took a crazy victory, winning every race of the year. So fantastic for him.
Yeah. Oh, well, just trying to load this next one.
Yeah. So senior heavy. So another thing too to note about the way they're doing this. Not only do they have these two divisions over the same general Midwestern area, they have then kind of gone ahead and even subdivided that into separating each of those divisions into multiple classes when you should only really have one. Like just Briggs Senior, for example, at 6 Young Cartway. We just have the one senior class.
Yeah.
Here they have heavy and medium.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that a little later.
I know.
So.
It's just, but still.
I know it's something that really irks you now.
It is. Yeah. Anyways, though, so a fairly close championship battle here, which I will mention. Connor Lund did not win a race at all, but my gosh, he won by only 3 points over Jim LePerry, who missed the first weekend, but won every single other race on his charge. Man, that must have been some heartbreak for Mr. LePerry there.
Yeah, that is a really close championship battle there, Nelson.
Yeah, man, I
can't even imagine losing by 3 points like that. I mean, I'd almost rather tie. No, I wouldn't rather tie, but that's heartbreaking. But Connor Lund, very good job by being consistent and keeping that point lead. Getting that win by just a smidgen.
Oh, that hurts just looking at it. Saying as how they were divided into classes, their kind of complementary class, medium, was won by Ryan Cassidy and Scott Keeman in second. They had a pretty interesting fight, exchanging a few wins over the course of the year.
Should be noted that both of those drivers, I believe, are Coyote Factory drivers, so they were swapping. It was the team swapping between each other essentially the whole season.
Okay.
This one was next, right?
Yeah. So kid karts, which kind of interestingly enough, they do award actual points in kid karts for this championship. Which we had Jacob Shable winning the championship with 5 wins.
And now we're going to move on to the North Division.
This is still
Central Division.
We don't need to go over all of these. I was just thinking like the big ones.
The big ones?
Senior and stuff.
So, moving on to the North Division then.
That's still Central, Joe.
I'm sorry.
As you can tell, we haven't rehearsed this, so this is a purely authentic experience.
This is truly live, folks. You're watching Radio Kart live on YouTube.
Although we do strive to make this family-friendly show, though. So.
Every once in a while, a swear word or two gets out there, but we try to contain ourselves.
So, Randy Wesley won the North Division for the CIK. So, kind of another thing that I should probably get into later, but this is more or less medium, but specifically for CIK bodywork only. Yeah. He didn't win a race, but off of pure consistency, he won the championship.
Yep. Where's the next one? Central North. There we go.
Sports. Okay, we don't need to go over sports. Okay. Cale Zimmerman won Sportsman. Yes. Winning almost every race.
Which is quite like his father, because if we look at Senior Heavy here,
we'll see that Grant Zimmerman won everything except for 3 races, where he got second place. So, very dominant run by him. And Nick Ockenfels, very pretty much on his heels. Mm-hmm. And even Justin Wishart getting there up in the mix.
You know, always love seeing our local talented drivers like Nick get up there and really battle for the win. I'm fortunate that he had that incident at Dallas that took him out of the Grand Nationals Championship.
Yep. So then the complimentary class medium was won by Justin Wishart, who managed to compete in both of those, over Ethan Dirk. Only not that many people in this class, to be honest.
No, not a whole lot.
We didn't even have that many in heavy either, but we'll get into that. In fact, we should probably... Do you want to talk about that right after the championship here?
Yeah, and I believe those are the 3 senior championships we have to talk about.
Oh, we have senior medium. Yeah, there we go. Oh, wait, no, we just talked about them.
So I believe that should be all the classes we really wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And so we'll transition to talking about some big changes that are coming for the Cup Karts North America schedule, and kind of some of the reasoning behind these changes and why we approve of them and why we think more need to be possibly made. No?
Yeah. So it's a good first step, basically. But in case you guys don't know what we're talking about, this whole thing about them having 2 separate divisions, that's kind of going to be mended for next year after quite a few years of this.
2 years.
Yeah. Okay, still, it feels longer. Yeah. How asinine this is. They will be merged back into one Midwestern championship. And along comes with a bit of a name change, kind of. You want to talk a bit about that?
Well, I mean, the Champions Cup has always been what the regional stuff has been called. So there's really not a name change. It's just all being merged into one
Gotcha,
group.
Okay.
So the whole site is called Cup Karts North America. The Champions Cup has been the regional one. Just one was Champions Cup Central and one was Champions Cup North before. So
that Florida division, what the hell would you call that then? Would that be Cup Karts North America?
Well, they never had the Florida division. It fell through.
Yeah, but do they still plan on? I thought they still plan on doing that.
They want to, but they're not going to next year. For next year, this is all they're doing. This is all they're focusing on, which I think we approve of based off what we've seen recently, with the numbers being split in half. There only being like 10 kart fields.
Or in some of those cases, what we were just looking at, 5 kart fields.
Yeah. And the competition has been spectacular, Nelson. I mean, you go to one of those 5 kart fields and you're like a local track champion, right? It's hard to get in the top 3.
Yeah.
But in terms of going to a national or regional level event, you want to have more competition to race against, which is what I feel like the main reasoning behind this merge is to give them more people to race against.
Yeah.
Hopefully you get some of those people from Indiana making the track over to Iowa or something like that.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a good first step. But if you consider the championships we're looking at, we kind of saw a lot of redundancy, dare I say.
Yeah.
I had even said how at 60 Kartway, we just have a lone senior class. Here in Cup Karts North America, they have...
currently 3.
Yeah, currently 3.
They want to expand it to 4.
Yeah.
Because they want to have CIK, heavy, medium, and then heavy and medium of the open bodywork class.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
which, if you can see
There's a
Nelson's
lot.
and I reaction right now, is like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's just so repetitive. Like, you don't need to have this many classes. And honestly, some of these will probably go away in the future.
Yeah.
We've kind of talked about actually kind of the whole body work debate.
Yeah.
And the way we've been going, it seems like, at least here in the Midwest, is that full body stuff is being phased out.
They're trying to. They're really trying hard.
Yeah, so it would not surprise me if, say, in maybe 5, maybe even as soon as 2 years, if they go away with the Gold Cup stuff and these so-called CIK classes basically just replace the general classes.
Yeah.
That way we would just have, medium, senior, but then with that.
Well, and they got to take that first step, though, Nelson, of introducing a CIK class, which is unfortunate in this case for the Champions Cup, because it really, really splits up the classes more than what we need to have happen in this series, which is why the merging of the two series back together into one is going to try to relieve that issue, I believe.
Yeah, and again, it's a good first step.
It's a good first step, but I just don't know that they are still going to have the numbers to be able to run 2 heavy classes, 2 medium classes, a master's class, and the junior classes on top of it.
Yeah.
I think you and I were talking about earlier ways they can even further get bigger fields. First of all, I think we both agree you got to step away from the CIK class only for a little while.
Yeah.
And that the other step would be to only have one senior. If you're going to have a CIK only class, there's only one weight. There's one weight. It's a senior CIK class.
Yeah.
And then the open body work class is also just one weight, a senior open body work class.
Yeah.
And then you have the master's class on top of it. Or if you want to keep, medium and heavy, you got to get rid of the CIK, and you got to possibly merge the master's class in with the heavy class, because you can't have 2 classes racing at 390 right now.
Yeah. Which, I mean, maybe if there were larger grid numbers, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Yeah.
But right now, when you only have 5 cars chugging around out there, you gotta reduce the number of classes. You gotta let these guys race together. Yeah,
I mean, the medium class, I think, was their biggest class for most of the year, and there was events where they were getting 10 or 12. I mean, I can go to a club race right now, the way our state of our club is in.
Yeah.
I can go to a club race and race against 10 or 12 guys and have fun. I don't need to go to Indiana, travel, 7 hours to race against 10 or 12 guys.
And then get a headache when you find out you're a second off.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason you go, right, though, because the competition is so much better than it should be at your club level. But you don't want to be ending up racing against nobody. You want to be able to race against a group of guys, and you'd like to see 15 to 20 kart fields in these regional level classes.
Yep. So, kind of, as I keep saying, it's a good first step, but they really need to look at kind of streamlining what classes they offer in this championship.
Yeah.
As Joseph was saying, a lot of these can be merged. Some of these can even be just deleted immediately and stuff. So
really, they have to look at the direction they want to go with their program and then decide what the best option is. But we for sure cannot have 9 or 10 206 classes racing on the weekend. The time gets constrained, which isn't a huge deal. They can deal with that. But
they deal with that pretty well.
The big issue from our standpoint is I'm not going to show up to a race 5 hours away to race against 5 guys.
Yeah.
Looking at the schedule, though, that they have come out with, I think we're pretty happy with it, Nelson. I hope all the racers are happy with it. I realize there's going to be some disappointments there because they had to delete some tracks off of their schedule. But I think a very versatile schedule and very spread out across the regions they had been racing in.
Yeah.
And so they start out with Concept Haulers Motor Speedway in Sheridan, Illinois, which I know is kind of a favorite track to both of us with the 100-lapper we did at the end of the year this year.
I had even attempted club racing there at one point.
Yeah.
Not for me, though. I like 61. Nice place, though.
Round 2 will be in Michiana Raceway Park, New Liberty, Indiana, and that's a pretty interesting track. I don't know if you know much about it.
I really don't. And I'm not sure how much our visitors do. Why don't you enlighten us, Joe?
Well, I don't know a whole lot about it other than that it's a pretty big track. It's got kind of a long front straightaway, and then the backside is kind of an S-curvy section.
So what you're saying is Quincy.
It's not Quincy by any means, but it's much flatter than Quincy.
Okay.
But there's a little bit of elevation change. They got some S's and a lot more.
Fine. Like, are you basically saying like Quincy's little brother? Almost.
No, they're not. They're not comparable at all. They're not comparable.
Well, you're saying a big long straight. And
there is one big long straight. It's actually straight, where the one at Quincy is kind of like curved.
Yeah, still, but I mean, I'm thinking of Quincy as being this fast track with wavy sections, and you're kind of saying this is fast with wavy sections.
I think you're just getting caught up in the waves, man. Caught up in the waves.
All right. Anyways, this place sounds fun. It's the if you're not counting the Grand Nationals, it's the only race in Indiana. Mm-hmm. So.
It will be June 1st through 2nd for those of you that want to attend. Round 3 will be July 13th through 14th. This is after the Battle at the Brickyard, which they scheduled on purpose so that people can go to that and then come to this event if they want to. It'll be at Wolf Paving Raceway in Dowsman, Wisconsin. I've been up there twice. I don't think you've been up there yet.
Never.
Have you, Nelson?
Nope.
Sounds
like a fun place, though.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun place. It reminds me a little bit of Sprint Kart Speedway in some ways.
Okay.
They had an add-on done a year ago, or 2 years ago now, which added to the technicality of the track, and it is really fun track, and it's been on the schedule since the beginning of this series, since its inception, Nelson. So I don't think we're very surprised to see it there. The track is backed by Briggs a lot. It's a good place for this particular series division.
Yeah.
Round 4, I believe we're both looking forward to this round. It'll be July 27th through 28th at 61 Cartway, Delmar, Iowa.
Now, will that be a night race like this year, though?
I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to look at I don't think they did it in their interviews. They asked drivers if they wanted another night race.
It's kind of judging by these dates. If we know that Dowsman is on a Sunday, then yeah, that's probably not a night race either at 61.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought the night race last year was pretty fun.
Yeah.
The only problem I think everybody had with it is we were kind of waiting on the nighttime to get there. Because we started racing, I think, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but you were in like the dog days of summer, so the sun didn't set till like 8:30, 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And so with the kid carts, it was kind of like, okay, we got to get these guys going so they can go back to the hotel and sleep. So they can get up on Sunday morning to race. And then for everybody else, I think I was out there until 11 for the awards part of stuff. And then midnight just, talking to everybody. But that was a long, long day at the track.
But at the same time, I will admit that was a long day too. But I was a fan of the fact that it was cooler at night. Because, my gosh, that was a terrible day. I actually...
it was hot.
Yeah.
It was sweltering.
Yeah, it honestly actually probably had to be one of my worst days ever at the track as far as heat goes.
Yeah. And, I think if they maybe moved their start time back maybe to 2 or 3 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock, that'll help kind of speed the pace up for everybody.
Oh, our shocker. If they eliminated some of the classes.
Oh, dang, we're back to that again.
I'm just saying if they did that, they didn't have 12 classes where everybody needed to practice, qualify, and race.
I 100% agree.
You could have a more compact schedule, allowing for more relevant dusk and at night running.
Yeah. So I definitely think that's something they'll look into. I definitely think 61 is one of the tracks that they want to run a night race at, because I mean, face it, our track is very well lit at night.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think we may see that happen again. We'll have to wait and see for further.
Yeah, perhaps for the Saturday race.
Yeah. Round 5 will be August 17th through 18th at G&J Kartway in Camden, Ohio, which I believe our host of the Radio Kart Northeast series may be able to go to, Anthony DiMaggio. So I don't know what his racing plans are for next year, but I would imagine he may try to make that race.
Yeah. And then, of course, the Grand Nationals.
Oh, boy.
3rd edition.
Yeah, that'll be October 5th through 6th, of course, at Newcastle Motorsports Park, which I feel like we may be hitting up at some point this year, Nelson, for other reasons other than Champions Cup. They have a pretty cool endurance event that we like to do.
I've heard about that, and I keep thinking I want to do it. So, yeah.
But that is the schedule for the Champions Cup and Cup Karts North America this year. If you guys have anything you'd like, added or subtracted, let us know in the comments. Get your opinion out there and see which tracks you can maybe get added on for 2020. Now, always got to be thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But with that, I think that leads into kind of the next segment of our show, Nelson, where I'm going to ask you some pretty tough questions.
Oh, gosh. Tough questions.
Some pretty tough questions. And
Joseph, this isn't fair. I dealt with enough of these during finals week.
Well, it's that time of year, Nelson. I just can't stop asking the tough
Christmas
questions.
is next week, Joe.
Santa Claus is going to ask you if you're naughty or nice. And you're going to have to answer yes or no. Okay? Wait.
That's not a yes or no question, Joseph.
Well,
if you've been naughty or nice, yes.
Yes.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I've been loved this year, Santa. That's the way it works.
Yeah, I've spun and I've been spun.
Speaking of...
Oh, my gosh. Anyways, these questions, though.
These questions. So, to get started, I think one of the first questions I want to ask you is about the McDonald's, Nelson.
The fast food restaurant?
No, our friends, the McDonald's store in Odin, which are...
Pardon me, I'm a little hungry.
Oh, I can see that. We didn't see them at all this year. Do you think we'll see them in 2019?
Okay, I feel like there's a slight chance. I mean, you gotta keep in mind, too, that for the last half of this year, Thor was saying that they would come out and race.
Mm-hmm.
However, that never materialized. So kind of judging off of what we've seen, I guess, as far as what Thor has said, I'm not going to hold my breath to see them next year. So.
I really hope we see them.
Oh, I'd love to see them. I'm just saying realistically, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Hell, I'd like to see them for every race next year.
Yeah. And it's hard to believe. It's been a year since we've raced against them.
Yeah.
I say race against them, really raced with them.
Yeah.
They've been such a... I know when I got started in karting, they were so helpful with helping me and my dad get things figured out on the kart, and just wish I could see them back at the track or anywhere. I really need to get together with them and talk race cars and Formula One and all that.
Yeah.
Yes or no, we'll see the GOAT, Tony Nielsen, get behind the wheel of a kart in a club race next year. Speaking of the GOAT, do you have the Farm Goat Simulator meme?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I do have that somewhere on my phone.
But do you think we'll see him? Do you think we'll see him next?
Well, we didn't. Oh my gosh, you're actually going to bring this up, aren't you?
I am actually going to bring this up.
Wow, oh yeah, Tony's going to skin you alive. Anyways, though, so about this, about the question, though, I will say that I'm kind of conflicted here because we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, and I had originally said no, not at all, because, or I wouldn't really hold my breath because we didn't see him this year. So kind of like, why would he race next year?
Yeah.
But then we even kind of talked a little, talked about some other stuff too. And I don't mean to like spoil, I guess, the topics of the show later, but we talked about the Rock Island in Tony, and how he did not do as well as we thought. Basically, he didn't win a race. For those of you that didn't know,
I mean, he got in the top 5 a lot. Let's be honest. He did have a good weekend.
Oh yeah,
but like you said, he didn't win a race.
We expect the GOAT to win. We don't expect the GOAT to graze for grass and fit.
Yeah. Wow, that was an impressive analogy right there.
So, anyways, but here's the thing, though. So it's kind of interesting, almost. It's like, geez, he didn't do a club race this year, and he didn't win at Rock Island. A year ago, though, he did. And he did win at Rock. He did do a club race, and he did win at Rock Island.
I completely agree. The two are definitely correlated. He definitely needed to do a club race to win. Here's the way I see it. The more club races he does, the more he will win at Rock Island. That's the way I see it.
Yeah.
There's really no excuse for not doing at least one club race. He's got You got to come out and race with the boys.
Yeah. Now, to be more specific, though, if he does end up doing one, which hopefully he understands the fact that these two are connected, he will probably either do the first race of the year, or he will do he'll either do the first race of the year, or he will do one closer to Rock Island, say in like July or August.
Yeah, and you know, we're just giving him crap because we really want to see him race against us. But he did actually have a pretty good week in Rock Island, especially if you compare Nelson and I's standards of finishing outside the top 10.
Wait, finishing?
Finishing?
I didn't finish this year.
All right, finishing is a thing. I didn't even start one race. What are you talking about?
Also, if you're looking for the GOAT meme, I'm pretty sure that's in the other chat.
Oh, goodness.
You remember? Because I just put it in there very abruptly.
Oh, it is in the other chat.
Yeah.
If you guys aren't familiar, we're looking for a meme right now that is just absolutely fantastic that you need to see. But moving on, I guess I'll ask Nelson a question first so that we have something else to discuss other than Tony Nielsen's goatness. Will Ulinski Autosport compete at the Brickyard in 2019?
Yeah, so this is kind of connected, I guess, to kind of like our just general plans for next year. Mm-hmm. So, do you just want to do this like a separate segment later? I mean, I'll answer your question.
Yeah, answer your question, but we'll do another segment.
Basically, yes, that is something that we do very much plan to do. Mm-hmm. Now, that is kind of connected to a few other things, dare I say. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not going to spoil that, because that is what we will be talking about. There it was.
There it is. All right. I'm about to do the best screen share anybody can ever do with you in the history of memes. For those of you kart racers out there that are familiar with the GOAT, there he is, folks. GOAT Simulator with Tony Nielsen said on the cover. He's going to murder us. But I'm fine with it.
This is such an old meme, though. I made this back in, this is literally...
It's so great! It's so great!
You actually weren't saying that when I originally...
No, I was really scared when you first made the meme, because I was like, this is trouble for both of us, but...
Both of us? You aren't associated. You are now associated with it, though, because you're pushing this during the show.
Yeah.
But originally, when I made it, you were scared for me, because I made it.
She came up to me and was like, what did you do? He didn't come up to you first. I mean, he did come up to you eventually, but... Anyway, that is the greatest meme in the world, folks, so you have now witnessed it in all its glory. So continuing on for the 25th anniversary of the Rock Island Grand Prix, yes or no, you think we'll see a configuration change, Nelson?
Yeah, so another thing we kind of talked about before the show, and this was kind of from your insider knowledge, was it not? Yes. That this had kind of been hinted at, that this would actually happen. Yeah. Almost. Maybe.
Yeah. Don't accuse us of anything. We're just saying it might possibly happen. I mean, especially with some of the discussions I've seen on Facebook about ideas for the 25th anniversary, it looks like it could possibly happen.
Yeah, so, hold on. Repeat the question again.
So do you think we'll see a track configuration change?
Will we see that? Okay. I think that's kind of 50-50 if you're going off of what you were just telling me, how this is up in the air. Plus, you're the one that really knows this more than I do. So how about you share with us, Joe? Are we going to see a configuration change?
I definitely feel like with the people we have working on the board right now that are putting their insights in, that we very, very could possibly see a configuration change for the 2019 running of the Rock Island Grand Prix. And I feel like that could possibly rejuvenate, a little bit of the interest in the race. But not that there hasn't been interest in the race.
Oh yeah.
But I definitely feel like it could shake things up, and it could make things more interesting for the race if we do that in 2019. So I feel like it's a strong possibility. A lot of it has to do with the streets that we are allowed to go onto and whatnot. So we'll have to see where that takes us. But if it's possible, I think they will definitely do a configuration change.
Yeah, so then that kind of leads into, what would this configuration change even be?
Yeah.
All I'll say is I hope to God it's not a chicane. Because personally, I find driving chicanes to be kind of fun, as sacrilegious as that actually sounds.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, I just think especially at a street circuit with the walls, is it's kind of like, how hard can you push? How lucky do you think you are? But it's like then kind of, if you look at that as far as driving, that's fun. If you look at that in a racing environment with 40 karts that are inches apart, that are about the same speed, that's carnage.
Yeah.
That is absolute.
It's kind of like the chicane they put in at the Charlotte Roval, right? Like before they moved it out, it was just absolute carnage.
No, it would be like using the bus stop in the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally what it would be.
Yeah.
So, I hope it's not a chicane. What I would really like it to be would be maybe narrowing the track.
Yeah.
Like, I would really like to see where you need to put a lot more, what am I trying to say here? Just kind of like a lot more into the driver's hands, I guess, of going through the corners. I mean, yeah, of course, you do need to drive through the corners properly. You just can't chug on through. I don't mean that by any means that the current setup is easy. Yeah. I personally really like a medium speed corner setup where you still have momentum, but you have to brake, and it's all about how do you brake to turn the cart, when do you get on the throttle, a lot more technical like that.
Yeah, more of a 90-degree corner like at Elkhart. Not as narrow as Elkhart,
not as narrow,
but as sharp as what we were kind of seeing at Elkhart is what you'd like to see. I know I would like to see possibly a hairpin of some sort added. Not as tight as that Elkhart. Yeah. Those are incredibly tight. But something maybe a little bit wider that we have to negotiate around and still slow down for. I'd also, I'm with you. I don't want to see chicane added. I think chicanes are terrible ways to slow down karts.
We're looking at you, Herman Dilk. I actually don't think he's been involved in designing an F1 circuit for quite a few years now, but that meme will never die.
But I know that I wouldn't be opposed to seeing a bus stop added where it uses maybe a little bit of a side street to kind of keep the width the same. Just make it so we have to kind of slow down in the middle of the straightaway and that there's multiple lines through that corner. Yeah. A chicane, there's only one way through a chicane. And everybody knows there's only one way through a chicane, and some people just aren't willing to lift. But if we can work in a bus stop like at Watkins Glen is a good example, I think, where they are able to run the side-by-side through the bus stop.
That is the bus stop of bus stops.
Yes. That is definitely kind of what I'd like to see implemented in the configuration at Rock Island if they were going to put something like that in.
Yeah. That could work, yeah. All right, so any other questions, or are we moving on to the next section?
I think
am I supposed to ask you questions?
You can ask me a question if you want, Nelson. If you
okay. You got to interrogate me. I get to interrogate you.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Oh geez.
All right.
I'm not ready.
Will Rap Racing compete in 2 or more Cup Karts North America races next year?
Probably not. If we're doing the 3 street races, which I think we're planning on doing, we'll probably only compete in the 1 Cup Kart race at 61. We might go to concept haulers, but probably not going to happen because it's during finals week for school.
Ugh, so lame.
Probably not going to do that one.
All right.
Especially if I have a final on Saturday.
Will Rap Racing sell the Coyote and buy a Mark?
Never, ever, ever, ever in a million years.
Oh, that was fast.
That ever happened. I mean, no. Now, next question, please, if you have one. Okay. If not, we'll move on to the next one.
We'll move on. Okay. Will Rap Racing... Okay, this is a serious question, though, this time. Does Rap Racing feel like they can compete for a top 5 at Rock Island?
Oh, given the current configuration, definitely, I feel like anybody can compete for a top 5 at Rock Island. It has a lot to do with being in the right place at the right time, being in the draft.
Yeah, but not all 40 karts can fit in the top 5. So it's kind
of. But they all try to sometimes.
I'm not saying can you try to. I'm saying, do you think you have what it takes to be amongst them?
I definitely think we have what it takes to be amongst that group.
Okay.
And I think if you go back to 2017, we definitely showed that we had the speed to be amongst that group. This year, we did not have the speed for whatever reason. And next year, I think we'll have it back, and we're willing to work hard to get up there and compete at Rock Island. So,
will Rap Racing sell their Briggs and buy a shifter.
No. These are all questions you already know the answer to, Nelson. No, that will not happen.
Okay, fine.
But moving on to our next topic, then I guess, Nelson, is to kind of discuss what our plans are for next season, what races we plan on doing, and what events we're looking forward to. I'll let you start off.
Okay, and yeah, we kind of did hit at this with the previous questionnaires we were throwing on back and forth. So as Joseph had kind of implied when he asked, the Brickyard Grand Prix. Yeah, that is something I want to do. I've been wanting to do that. So it's kind of like I need to do that now at this point. And I know that the Brickyard's like kind of special to everyone. Like anyone that knows racing, Indianapolis Motor Speedway is where you want to go. But for me, as like an IndyCar fan, how much I love the Indy 500 and just the facility in general, that is really on my bucket list.
Yeah,
I just really want to race there. So one thing how that kind of connects to everything else though is between like resources and then kind of being busy over the summer, I'm probably going to be working full time in an internship. So it's like I'm not gonna want to ask like if can I have a Friday off so I can go and do this like every other weekend basically.
Yeah.
So I probably won't race Elkhart, which that kind of then implies I'm not gonna race all the street races.
Yeah.
So of street races, I'll do Quincy. I love Quincy. I'll do Rock Island because it's
Rock Island.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I'll do the Brickyard. So as far as those big races, that's what I'll do. I think I'll mostly focus on the club championship because let me tell you, before Gage showed up, I thought this was going to be my year for the championship.
Yeah.
So oh, excuse me. So yeah, the championship will be my main focus at the club. And then I'm kind of also exploring maybe branching out a little bit more in the 206 Cup Karts North America. Because I'll probably want to do the weekend at 61. I'm also thinking of doing the race at Concept Haulers.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of Concept Haulers, I, of course, am going to do the Halloween Grand Prix. Yeah. I always do that. That's probably that and Quincy are my two favorite races of the year. Otherwise, this next year is going to pretty much be a carbon copy of this year.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as our racing plans go, I know I for sure want to do the 3 street races, Quincy, Elkhart, Rock Island. The only reason I'm not doing the battle at the Brickyard is because if I'm doing those 3 street races, I already got the body work and everything to do them. I'm not going to, switch over to CIK for one race and do that. And, if at some point in the future I need to switch to CIK, I will. But if they're not going to make me do it this year, I'll just wait another year and hopefully push it off. But that's kind of why we'll do those 3. And I loved Quincy last year. It was such an event, Nelson, as you can testify to. It was a lot of fun. The track was pretty cool. And then Elkhart, once again, was a cool event. The track not as cool of layout, but the event really awesome. And Rock Island is Rock Island. Need we say more? But really looking forward to those races. Hopefully doing some club racing. I'm with you kind of on the internship stuff though. I'll be looking for an internship or be doing some sort of school work throughout the summer. So depending on what I'm doing, it may not be realistic to club race every weekend. Though with free club racing, it's kind of hard to pass that up when you're not having to pay for that, which I wanted to make with. So I may be going more with club racing than I initially intended, but we'll see what happens. As far as my schedule goes, it's pretty much all up in the air, except for I know I want to do the 3 street races again. I'd love to do those. Yeah,
which so it's kind of like we talked a little bit about this before the show, and this kind of showed we kind of have some different philosophies when it comes to what races we want to do next year.
Yeah.
While we do have very similar schedules, you are very set on doing the Triple Crown.
Yeah.
Whereas me, it's really, I'm totally fine sitting out Elkhart to go do the Brickyard Grand Prix.
Yeah. Well, and if you really think about it, the way the point system for the Triple Crown was this year anyway, you could sit out Elkhart and still win the Triple Crown. For me, obviously that's part of the reason why I would do Elkhart, but big reason for me is it just flows. The rules flow so well with the other races I'm doing. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense for me to go to the Brickyard.
Yeah.
Run that unless there's a big rule change between now and June.
And this is kind of where our philosophy is different, because you're saying the points, the rules, it's also uniform and stuff. For me, I want to do the Brickyard over Elkhart because I think it'd be more fun. I'm not looking at competing in any championship. I'm looking, where am I going to have the most fun? And personally, I think that would be the Brickyard.
Yeah, the Brickyard will definitely be a good time. I mean, huge field, like they had last year, will definitely make it fun. And plus, it's the Brickyard; there'll be plenty to do. Plus, taking your kart onto the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is just absolutely awesome. But
it'll probably be an out of body experience.
Yeah, I remember that was very cool to watch last year.
Like even just watching I watched the YouTube video of them like just driving around, and I even got like goosebumps.
Yeah, I can't even imagine going around the track, but it's just so historical to racing. It's pretty much the reason all racing is here. But
it's okay. Yeah.
It'll be. I wish I could go, but it will probably have to be the race that I bypass this year. I'll of course do the Halloween Grand Prix, hopefully again with.
Yeah. But speaking of next year and stuff.
Yeah.
We kind of implied a little bit at Newcastle. They've got something going on.
Yeah, they do have something. Well, so I believe there's an endurance race happening in the middle of the summer there.
In the middle of the summer?
Yes. There's also the one they're holding at the end of the year.
Which that's been established for this was the second year.
Yeah, so it'll be a third year next year. And I believe both you and I are kind of chomping at the bit to go race 125 laps at Newcastle.
Yeah.
It just sounds like a blast. A lot of people think we're insane, partially because if we went and did it...
Well, partially because we actually are insane.
Well, yeah, that's probably part of it. But if we went and did it, we would probably solo it, whereas most people would not solo it, which... A lot of people call us insane for doing anyway, but it's fun to see if you can Ironman the whole thing out. And ain't nobody driving my kart except me. So
yeah, and after you busted up my sprocket that one year, you're never breathing on my kart again, Joseph Rapp.
Who ran over who in Elkhart this year?
Ooh. Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but you see, who broke whose sprocket?
Who?
Oh my god, we could do this all night.
We could. Nelson and I have raced against each other long enough to know we're gonna have some contact with each other every once in a while. You just got to deal with it.
Robinson is racing.
Robinson is indeed racing. But yeah, that's I guess our plans for the rest of the year. I do have another question to ask you real quick, Nelson. Yes or no? Do you think Carter Pease will win at Daytona this year, man?
Oh, well, he went at Daytona. Will Carter? Yeah.
I mean, he's going down to Daytona, folks. There's a possibility.
Yeah. So, he had a really good year last year down at Daytona.
Yeah.
So I'm as brutal as this may seem.
Here it comes.
Get
ready to cry, Carter.
Oh my god. I'm not sure he'll win. But
the brother has no faith in you right now.
I didn't say that. Oh my gosh. A win, okay? Because winning is you need a little something. You need something for that, and I think he'll get a podium because he got fourth last year.
Yeah, I think he got fourth last year.
So you hear that, Carter? I'm expecting a podium out of you, young man. All right, if you don't deliver, you're kicked off the show.
The whole reason he's not here is because he's prepping for Daytona, Nelson. So I think because of all the preparation he's put in, he's for sure to podium. He may possibly win the race. So I have faith in our boy, Carter. You hear that, Carter? I got faith in you.
I have faith too.
It's just much less faith than what I have.
It's not much less. I'm just happy to be a realist and see how difficult it would be
I'm a realist. Carter's gonna come home.
And by the way, I was podium trophy.
Yeah.
And by the way, I am kidding about kicking him off the show. If he gets less than a podium, no, I'll buy him a beer at the bar, and we can drink away his sorrow.
Man, we've been doing a lot of that in racing lately. Three of us.
Drinking away our sorrows.
Well, we will be doing a lot more of it because there are a lot of sorrows to drink away at the race.
I have never picked up a drink to drink away my sorrows after the race. I have had the occasional beer after the race, but that was never to, quote unquote, drink away my sorrows.
Yeah. I have not done that either. I bet you Gardner may have done it after Rock Island last year.
Yeah. No, he probably needed that.
But in all seriousness, we really wish you the best of luck, Carter. He may be taking over a larger role in this show as time goes on, seeing as he may have a little bit more time. He may shift
and
us to the dark.
expertise too.
And expertise. Yeah. He may shift over to the dark side of two-cycle racing, and he may try to convert the show. But we will try to not let that happen, folks. We will try to not let that happen.
Joking aside, this would actually be a very nice opportunity, though, because we do make this a very four-cycle focused show, and we kind of do try to talk about all aspects of karting as we can, but kind of considering our limited expertise on two-cycle karting, this would kind of be a little welcome of a change to allow him to come in and do this.
Yeah, so if you guys are looking forward to hearing some more two-cycle karting stuff in the future, definitely stay tuned. Carter may introduce some more of that for us.
And then, did you want to talk more about like how the future of the show might go? Because I know we were talking about that before ourselves, and a lot's kind of up in the air.
Yeah, it's a lot up in the air, you know.
The show will continue.
The show will
consider
continue.
this us saying that it won't.
No, it will definitely continue in some form or another. Carter has a lot more experience with the way media works, I guess, than we do. And he has the equipment to do nice sound for the show, because we probably sound pretty echoey right now on the show, if we're being 100% honest. But
I don't know about that. My girlfriend texted me and she said, "You sound so cute."
Wow.
We sound cute, Joseph. We sound cute.
We do. Well, you do anyway, I suppose. But the direction this show may head, Carter will have probably a lot more say in it if he chooses to accept that role.
Yeah. And that's all if.
Yeah.
It very well could end up being that, although we may have a more busy schedule, we may do a every other week show.
Yeah.
On the weekends or something.
And I've been thinking we may try to figure out a way to do a show where Nelson and I don't have to be in the same location to do it. We can do it via the internet. We may go more to podcast route in the future. Just have to stay tuned. We'll keep you posted. But we definitely want to get maybe some more interviews in there if Carter's willing to help us out with that somehow, and take the show in a more professional direction if possible. So me and Nelson will always be here bugging the crap out of you guys.
Yeah.
And making our accusations about body rules and tires and all that.
And how four-cycle racing is so much better than two-cycle racing.
Yes.
Can't forget that one.
Can't forget that part. But the show will probably change a little in the future. So just be aware.
Yep, be aware. Look for updates. And, we'll still be Radio Kart. It's just how we'll be doing this might be